Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 161 of the High Sensitivity Podcast, and thank you for listening. If it's your first time here, we talk about video game and movie news, as well as what we watched or played over the week. My name is Barry, along with my co-hosts.
My name is Craig. I got my Persona 5 mug with coffee in it for some reason in the afternoon, even though we're
Okay.
probably not going to say a thing about Persona in this one.
My name is also Craig, and you might be surprised. There might be a news article that I have that pertains to Persona.
Oh, I spoke too early.
You did.
The weekly Persona recap is going to be up on here, so that's what.
Oh, can we
that's what it
please
is.
do that?
No,
Yeah.
no.
You
We
know
don't
what
need
else
a
we talk
weekly.
about weekly, though, is the news.
Yes.
There's the transition. Love it.
So I guess we'll probably just get straight into it. The PlayStation Showcase.
Yeah.
I'll try to let us bounce around so each of us get a turn to talk. Overall, how did you guys feel about it before we get into it? I was like, okay, this is fine. I didn't
I think it
expect
sucked.
anything crazy.
I would say, yeah. I'm in between Craig and Barry, and
Yeah.
in between meh and it sucked. There was some bright spots, but there was a lot of okay. There's a
Very
lot of
little
okay.
in the way of exclusive, which is kind of what you want, right? And also, if you're gonna do anything, now's the time for Xbox, right? Because PlayStation kind of left the door open a little bit for you to come in with a pretty heavy conference and be like exclusive, exclusive, exclusive. You know how they always do that in the Microsoft conferences. Everyone is exclusive, because I don't know if there was more than 2 or 3 that were exclusive to PlayStation, right?
Yeah, Spider-Man,
And Spider-Man,
and
and
Spider-Man. Well,
Spider-Man.
technically there are 2 Spider-Mans in that game, so
Yep.
counts as 2.
I mean, I know we're going to go over it, but I thought it was hilarious that right after the conference, Microsoft put a tweet out with all the games that they announced that were also coming to Xbox. Be like, to avoid confusion, these ones are also going to be. And there's this huge long list that made me laugh.
Yeah.
I was like, you should probably do that because I don't know if it was just me, but it kind of felt like I was watching all those like trailers and I was like, oh, that's a good lineup. And then I saw that and I went, oh, wait, those aren't all exclusives. Like I thought maybe a lot of them were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you were an Xbox player, you kind of won in the PlayStation debut, with all of that stuff. And you bring up a good point. This is the right time for Xbox to kind of swoop in. If they have some stuff hidden in like some secret bunker that is being worked on currently, this is the time to launch it. Definitely. Like, because I think the showcase is on June 11th, if I'm right, something like
It's
that.
coming up.
Yeah, probably during the summer of gaming portion of things, because that is June, July area. So a couple of the things I wanted to talk about, and I'll kind of pick the niche ones here. Sword of the Sea from Giant Squid, from the makers of Journey and The Pathless. They're making it looks like he's surfing on a sword on sand.
Yeah.
Is all
Pulling
I
a
can make
Zelda.
out of it.
Pulling a
I
Zelda.
thought it looked stylishly cool. I thought the 2 games that were from indie developers here, which are Sword of the Sea and Neva, I thought looked good. Neva's from the creators of Grease, Gris, not the movie Grease, but
Or the country.
or the country Grease. Yeah, any other or the grease used to grease up your car.
Yes.
Yes. Or the movie Grease.
Or the yeah. So
Or the grease used in cooking.
yes, exactly. So Gris. The people who produced that are now making Neva, which I thought was cool. The trailer showed, kind of a mama wolf with antlers and a young blade-ress, and I don't know, Big Wolf dies, and then the young cub of the wolf decides to come up and hug the blade dress. I guess is what I'll call it. It looks like it's got something to do with like darkness, deforestation stuff.
Yeah.
I thought those 2 were pretty cool. I did like the art style.
They Bambied us there. You saw that
They
with
did.
like the dead parent. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, why am I sad right now in a PlayStation showcase?
True.
We then had let's see here, where do I want to go? Marathon, a really weird, and I guess I took it, I got the word for it. It's like acid punk, apparently, is what that style is. I had never seen that style, but it was really bright, really, I don't know. It looks like it's part of that, and that's not one of the exclusives, is it?
No,
No,
I
it's
was
not.
gonna say
no, it
because
is not.
I was thinking that was the multiplayer thing that Sony bought Bungie for, but I guess
Mm-hmm.
not. So
You know what's funny about that one is if you want a good chuckle, go watch the live reaction from Doctor Disrespect when they announced that game, because the game he's been working on, his studio, is almost identical.
Oh
really,
God.
Yeah.
huh?
So his the game he's working on is Dead Drop. I know I've talked about
Yeah.
it before, but
Yeah,
Dead Drop is a vertical extraction shooter in a 80s punk style. And then right off of that, like he's been working on that for I think a little over a year now, his company. And then Bungie comes out with a vertical extraction shooter in a steampunk or whatever, almost 80s punk style. And I'm like, oh boy.
Oh my God.
It's hard enough to start a new company and have a game be a hit, but when a company like Bungie comes out and kind of, not that they copied their style, but almost a very similar style of game, that would make me nervous.
yeah,
I'm gonna have to look at that video, man,
Yeah.
because I remember watching. I haven't watched Doc as religiously in the last 6 months, but my wife and
Hmm.
I were catching his videos a lot, and the footage that he was showing of the development made it look like it was going to be a very good game.
Yeah.
So even in the
I mean,
early
he
development,
does a pretty good job of like not showing all his cards, but you can tell like that had to have hit him a little bit and be like, really? You know, like he thought he was doing something original, and it's not super original. It's an extraction shooter. We have those games. We have Tarkov and all that, but the
mm.
whole thing was vertical, right? Like going
yeah.
up a tower, and then Bungie comes out and like vertical extraction shooter. And I'm like, oh god, here we go. But I mean, if
Yeah,
you think about it, what's the public going to pick? A Dead Drop, which is from a company they've never heard of, the general public, or are you going to go with Bungie? You're probably going to
Yeah,
go with
yeah,
Bungie.
yeah. With their first non-Destiny project in
Hmm.
what seems like half of our lifetime. What?
yeah.
Right.
Years at this
Right.
point.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And then I'll just go over one more, just because I know you guys want to kind of get into some of the other ones. Developed by Square Enix, Foam Stars,
Oh my
a what
god.
looks to be a
What's
almost like next gen Splatoon type game. It looks like
Yeah.
Splatoon if it could
Why?
be on next gen. I don't know. Like
It's
that,
so
I thought it
weird.
was funny.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's like a free to play game. I would
It better
definitely
be.
try it
Oh,
out.
it better be.
Hmm.
I
I
definitely
can't
try it out if
believe
it's free.
my first initial reaction was I can't believe they copied Splatoon, and then my
Yeah,
after that when I was watching it, I was like, I can't believe nobody's copied Splatoon yet.
yeah.
So I mean, it makes sense to try to capitalize on that. Are
Alter
people going to
Great
play
takes.
it though?
That would be
Yeah.
tough.
Hmm.
I mean, some die-hard Square Enix fans that like have a
That bought
Square Enix
Forsaken,
that
Yeah.
like
bought
me.
Forsaken,
Yeah.
but who are still backing Forsaken up too,
Okay,
Right.
yeah,
like to the
I haven't
fullest
touched it.
degree. Yeah,
What
those
if they put
fans.
what if they put Final Fantasy character DLC in it?
Oh,
That
they
I don't
can
know.
do that.
How does Cloud play in Foam Stars?
I don't know, but they
I
could
don't
make it
know.
work.
If they drop Vivi in there from Final Fantasy IX, I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm in. I'm
that would
all
be cool.
Vivi.
I feel like they're gonna have to, because I didn't see anything that was like made me want to play that game.
I, I was cracking up, which I apologize for the laughing that you saw, but like that was my reaction when I saw it because of the points that you just made. I was like, are we just blatantly copying Splatoon? I did not think, how has somebody not done this yet?
Yeah,
But but it's bubble Splatoon
yeah,
With foam, however that
with
works.
foam.
with foam,
They did
champagne
make
and
it,
foam.
and they made it look so serious before like the reveal in the trailer. I
Yep.
was like, oh, what is this? I can get it. Oh, what is this?
But
Interesting
yeah,
choice.
that's I'll leave you guys to talk about some of the stuff. Like one in particular, I was leaving for Craig because
Which one?
I don't know that I don't know
There's actually
the
there
game that
is
ends with
one.
Wake.
I was about to say there is one for each of us in this
Yeah.
thing. So
Okay, first thing though is Ghost Runner 2.
Yeah,
yeah,
Ghost Runner
I
2. Yeah.
love Ghost Runner. That first game was great. So like I'm all aboard that. And the other one I got to look up. I'm actually kind of sold on Immortals. I feel
The
like it
Portal
might
Stadium.
be
Stadium
okay.
game.
Yeah.
It looks
Eh.
like see, it looks like Overwatch in how the game plays with the first person. Like I thought of
Mhm.
I thought of Overwatch, and there was another game that I like combined it with when I was looking at it. It looked like Overwatch Prince of Persia. I wrote it down.
Yeah.
It looked like Overwatch Prince of Persia with magic.
Kind of reminds
Like
me of Ghostwire Tokyo a little bit.
Ghostwire Tokyo as well. Yeah,
That'll be
heavy.
that'll be one
And
of the
that's
games I have to like see. Like for
yeah,
I need to see reviews first. I'm not sold just because like I don't know. Like I kind of feel like the story looks like almost as bad as what Forspoken could be.
could
Like
be.
I don't know this. Like the gameplay and the magic and the gunfights look fun, but if it's one of those story only games, then it needs its story to drive it. And I wasn't exactly sold
Yeah.
on
It comes
Yeah.
out soon.
other than a
It's like
revenge
July
story.
or something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um yeah, I won't get into all of them. So like I'll just go with Alan Wake, and then Craig, if you don't, there's another one I have like a little star next to, so if you don't bring it up I will. But
Okay.
Alan Wake 2 looks good. I still am a little hesitant because I mean the first thing they said was like a survival style game, right?
Yeah.
And that
Survival
kind of
horror.
turned me off a little bit because that's not what I want from Alan Wake. But they didn't mention that this time, and it kind of looks like a Resident Evil style third person ish. Um, I think it looks good. I I mean, I don't know. I'm so hesitant because I don't know what the gameplay is.
Mhm.
You're bringing in those two main characters. I don't know if you're playing as the guy as well, but that's Max Payne. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh, Max Payne and Alan Wake in the same game.
Yeah, that's awesome.
uh, and also, I don't know if you guys saw this though, but no physical edition. Did you
No,
see
I didn't
that?
see that. I
I
did
didn't
not.
see that.
Okay, so this came out afterwards from Remedy, right? And this one blew my mind. They said afterwards that they will not be releasing a physical disc of this game. The reason being is so that they can keep the cost from being $69.99 to $59.99. So they were like, we're not, it's digital only, which I'm not a fan of. As far as I know, no collector's editions, which I would have actually probably considered.
Yeah.
But then after that, THQ Nordic came out and offered to make the game physically for them. So we
Oh.
have to wait and see if they change their mind. But as of right now, there will be no physical edition of Alan Wake 2, which is just like, I don't know if this might become a trend where they're like,
Hmm.
well, the games are $69.99 now. We can keep it in the old price, but you have to buy it digitally. That might be a trade off for some people. Me, I'd rather pay for a physical,
Yeah.
Yeah.
especially Alan Wake, one of my favorite games. I would love to be able to put next to my 360 copy and my remastered copy. But
Yeah.
as of right now, it doesn't look like I'll be able to.
Yeah, we're definitely a physical podcast, so that would
Mm-hmm.
hit all three of us definitely there if that becomes a trend.
Right. But what caught your eye, Craig?
Um, I'll talk about the first one before I talk about the big one that
It was
people
Helldivers
probably
2, wasn't it?
no.
Yes.
It was I wrote down Starship Troopers. I mean
Mm.
Helldivers. That was that's what I wrote
Mm-hmm.
down. We could talk about that one collectively. I'm Biomutant hype for Phantom Blade.
That's the one I had starred.
Yeah.
And I
Looks
say
incredible.
yeah, and like it looked like actual like straight up gameplay. Like it didn't look like
Yep.
a facade there. I've become more skeptical in the last year as a gamer in the and we talked about this. Will it work day one? And some of those moves that were happening in the footage, I'm like wondering, like, is this after they patch up some terribleness,
Yeah.
that happens when it crashes and burns? And I don't want to feel that way, but games as of late have been twisting my reasoning to that way. But it looks great. There's a lot of like what I like in that, and I don't know. It had like kind of like a Last Samurai vibe, like in terms of like what it was about. I couldn't tell much of the story, but those set pieces and like where he was fighting like while riding a horse,
Yeah.
and all that other stuff, it looked fantastic. I don't know. What did you guys think of that one?
Um, I wrote down a couple of things because I went and looked it up because I was like, I need to know more. Things I found were, one, they said it would be a 30 to 40 hour game. And then the other thing they wrote down was that stuff from the trailer was all in-game engine. So take what you will from that. I mean, it kind of looks like a faster paced Demon Souls, maybe a Neo, more like a Neo.
Little Sekiro in there.
I can get down with that. It looks cool. Super fast, like
Yeah.
extremely fast.
Yeah.
But I'm down for that game for sure.
Yeah.
As am I.
Okay.
Like, for the most part, I just need to see how like the rest of the game controls too. A lot of those set pieces had him like deflecting, like and fighting two people at once, which
Yep.
is almost like sacrilegious and infuriating in most games. So
Yeah.
if you can somehow deflect, two people fighting you and somehow fight both of them like at the same time, then I
Yeah.
have a feeling that could like actually really push some leaps and bounds for like development teams that can't figure it out or something like that, because that's the first thing I noticed. It was almost like a Ghost of Tsushima type Neo game is
Yeah.
what I was referring to it as, but a much faster pace.
Yeah, you're right. If like a standard gamer's dexterity can do what that game showed
Mhm.
without having to be like an expert, then I'm all for it. But yeah, I would have to see more. But I did get hyped, and as I'm calling it, Biomutant hyped. I just hope it doesn't disappoint me the way Biomutant has.
Yeah, of course.
Have to say that at least once a month. That Biomutant disappointed me. Um, and then, of course, the big guy, or one of the big guys. It's definitely not the big guy. But one of the big guys was Metal Gear Solid,
Yes.
Delta,
Three.
or Delta 3. Yeah,
Triangle.
Triangle
Snake Eater.
Delta, Snake
Snake
Eater,
Eater. Metal Gear
Snake
Solid
Eater
3.
Delta
Yep.
Triangle. Um, I was wondering, by the third animal that they were
Yep.
showing in the food chain, I realized what they were doing. Because I was like talking to my wife while I was watching it, and I was like, I don't know, what is this, like an Animal Planet game? And then like you see one consume the other, another consume the other, and then I was like, oh, they're consuming animals to stay alive. That's Metal Gear Solid, and then you just see Snake in the
Yep.
background. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I saw his face, I got very, very, very like happy, excited, thrilled. There was a lot of emotions that happened. I screamed. I probably upset my neighbors. It just feels good, and that's how it should feel if that's one of your favorite series of all time. But if like I can mini rant here, I went through a varying wave of emotions afterwards. So it's like, it's kind of like when you have a birthday party after 21. You have the party, it's great, and then you remember you're older. So
Yeah.
so you start like reasoning a little bit. You're like, well, I'm old enough to, like that kind of thing. So I had the initial shock. It was great. I saw it. I didn't even care that it was named Delta and all this other stuff. And then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, so we don't have a team identified yet for who is doing the remake. We also know that Konami is Hideo Kojima lists when doing the remake. So then reality and reasoning set in, and I was like, how good is this going to be? So I guess this may not be as long of a rant as I thought. What I want to say to everybody listening and watching this is, if you have a speck of Metal Gear Solid love in you, is try to think of this in a positive light. Do not go down the route I did, because I started thinking it was going to suck. And I was like, well, they're not going to be faithful to it, even though they say they're going to be faithful. How do you tell a Kojima story without Kojima? Even though they have the groundwork laid out, I can't recite the whole Pride and Prejudice book to you, even though I read it. You know what I mean? I'm not the author, so that's where my mind went. And what my mind should have gone to is, you got 1, 2, and 3 being released in a set, the HD version for PS5 sometime. I'm thinking August, September. That's what I'm thinking.
Yep.
So you get to play those games again in HD on PS5. Be happy about that. You
And Xbox.
also, and Xbox, sorry, not an
I feel like I have
exclusive.
to say that about every
Yeah,
game.
and Xbox. So you have those coming. before the end of the year, and then in the amount of time it takes for them to finish Delta, you will have had your Snake Eater time done,
Right.
and you're willing to play it again, and then it's just the wonderful waiting game, the Resident Evil waiting game of then just doing each one.
Yeah.
So this could end up like Resident Evil 2, 3, 4. Most recently 4, where people like me think it's incredible what they did, what they changed, what they kept, how it stayed faithful to the story, how they gave certain characters more story. And I guess they took some from some others, but it could end up like that type of remake where it's just fantastic. It gets people who are 14 into Snake Eater if their parents allow them to play it. And whereas like people like Craig and I who like went through them or, like highly enjoyed them growing up in their original version, you know, I don't know. I should be more excited. I'm telling everyone to be more excited. I don't care who they have remake it. I should have faith in the material. I should have faith in modernizing the mechanics of the game. And it's just more Solid Snake. They still got everybody back, though. They do have the voice actors and actresses back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's heavy because I'm not hearing anybody else, voice him.
Yep.
Even though I have no power to change that. So I don't know. Be happy. It's Solid Snake. It's Metal Gear Solid. I'm getting that set whenever that comes out. I'll be first in line to get it. And I don't know. I liked what I saw
That
after that.
that collection, my only issue, because like we had talked to each other and said that like we're definitely both picking that up day one. My only issue is like, is this the same collection that came out on 360 and PS3 years ago? Because they've already done that collection, and I have it. Like, is it the same thing where it's like a HD upscale, but they didn't really touch it, they just upscaled it? Is
Yeah.
that what we're getting? Are they changing anything? I mean, that's fine. If it's just upscale, that's fine. I'll still get it and I'll still play through it. The Metal Gear Solid 3, though, the remake, whatever you want to call it, them not actually calling it Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater Remake kind of makes me a little nervous. Like, are they just going to go in and do a Dead Space and just redo everything to make it look next gen? Or are we going to do like based on Metal Gear Solid 3 and take liberties with Kojima not there? Then we might have an issue. But for now, I mean, it's way off. We're probably talking, what, a couple of years before we see this game, I would imagine.
I would say, yeah.
For now, I will take that collection and play through them again. But yeah, I mean, I was excited to see Snake up there again.
Yeah, I think I don't remember. I remember almost what year I last played all 3 of those, and it was at least when I was still in my teens.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't played Metal Gear Solid 1. I just want that opening. I want him in the elevator where they show like the opening cutscene, and he's shedding all of his scuba gear, and I want to feel like I felt when I was a kid, and I was like, what am I getting into? This is next level, late 90s, like PlayStation 1 stuff. So like for now, I'm just going to be excited about the collection. We'll obviously be able to see more footage later on as that goes, but it is we don't know who's remake or who's doing it, what studio they're selecting to help them with it. We just know that Konami has not made a lot of great decisions in the last 5 years or so.
True.
And Metal Gear Survive was terrible. So
Barry, are you going to get that collection?
I think I might.
Okay.
I'm not completely sold on it. Like, you guys know me and how I'm not as close to the Metal Gear franchise as you guys are. Like, I'm definitely excited for whatever remake comes along.
Right.
But I just wanted to. I guess I have to see what like 1 and 2 play like. I guess because that's not something I ever did, is play through 1 and 2 and how different they probably are.
They're rough.
I'll have to.
If they don't change the controls, it's rough.
Yeah,
little tanky
little
controls.
tanky. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it would be fun for somebody like you who hasn't played them to get the chance to play through them. I just don't know if it's going to be something that keeps your attention to get through all three games
Yeah,
if you don't
yeah,
have nostalgia for them like we do.
Yeah, I think I don't know. One of the things that I always like, and this is what I think set up the scenario for me in my latter gaming years, is they got a hell of a cast of bosses every game.
Mhm.
And I think maybe the characters in one will intrigue you. Two is you gotta like Metal Gear Solid for the two characters. There are some good ones.
Right.
Vamp is fantastic. But that's just me. But one's got an array of different personalities that you see throughout the game, and they actually spend some time with each and every one. So that might be the thing because that might be the thing that keeps you going at least with one, Barry, I would say.
okay,
Yeah, two was just. I remember like I loved one because of the story and the characters. Two for me was that came out on PlayStation 2 and it was like
Mhm.
this huge jump in graphics at the
Yeah.
time. And I was like, "Oh wow, look at this Metal Gear Solid game." For me.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I don't think I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that caught my eye. I don't think so. Assassin's Creed
Um,
I think looks fine.
yeah.
yeah.
Assassin's Creed looks like it's returning to form, which
Yeah.
Thank
again,
God.
we've talked about it before
Thank
that
God.
Ubisoft is taking a big chance, and
Yeah.
hopefully this game is exactly what it needs to be for a lot of people. We then have Dragon Dogma 2
Yeah. Yeah.
also being announced. I know that's a very, very popular game amongst a lot of like role playing, D&D or communities and anything like that. So good to see more of that. Before we, of course, we get into like the bigger, I guess, meat and potatoes of this.
Hmm?
Were there any surprises you didn't see? Like for me, it was a surprise to not see Stellar Blade. The
Mm-hmm.
one
Mm,
Japanese, like, pretty much anime sword fighting game. I didn't expect to see, Phantom Blade instead of Stellar Blade, I guess. And on
Yeah.
top of that, too, just kind of surprised not to see anything about the Star Wars games that Quantic Dream is working. Well, I know they're working on like a
Yeah.
narrative Star Wars game, but also like that Knights of the Old Republic remake that
Right,
they're.
which there was news on that too, because news came out that it was done. It was not going to be made now, canceled. And then
Oh, okay.
after that, I read that there was news. They're like, no, it's still in being developed, but it's a long ways off.
Yeah, okay. So
Um,
okay.
so who knows? For me, the big one for me was the Bloodborne remaster. I thought
yeah,
we would see something, but
Yeah.
what are you
We
gonna
will
do?
wait. The big one for me is that they did not shove another 15-minute Final Fantasy video
well, there was
or
a
a
story
15.
trailer.
There
Yeah.
was a story trailer, but like sometimes we see in these displays like the third time that they show a game and they give it all the spotlight. Like they give it the end, they give it like 20, 15, 20 minutes, and it's like, well, we've already seen it in like the last couple of showcases. We know it's coming out. Show us more stuff. It's coming out in a month. I think that's what I was alluding to more.
I feel like
Um,
maybe Square will show it in whatever they do, right? I
yeah.
feel like whatever their press conference is, it's going to be 95% Final Fantasy anyway. Because we also didn't get the Final
Yeah,
Fantasy 7 Part 2 either.
yeah. We didn't see anything about that either.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
But
that's right.
do we want to talk about Spider-Man then? Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man.
Sure.
Yeah.
So Spider. so
Craig, go first.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I just wasn't that impressed. Were you?
Like I like Spider-Man and Miles
Yeah.
Morales. I'm excited for that. Um, I guess for the most part, what I'm afraid of is maybe they're showing a bit too much, kind of like what we've seen, like with other games as well.
Yeah.
The whole point of Tears of the Kingdom was that they didn't show some of the stuff that you find out is in the game later, and it just feels like with this latest trailer that they show off the symbiote suit, so we know that
Yep.
Peter is angry. He's emotional as well. So we know probably either something bad happened or something is happening. I did like the reveal of Craven. I
Yeah.
thought that was pretty good, and I just think it makes sense considering that all of Spider-Man's villains are all named after animals. So it all kind of makes sense there. I'm interested to see what Insomniac does with, you know, you're gonna definitely be switching between Peter Parker and Miles Morales. Do they force you to pick one or the other, like at some point? Like, because
Yeah.
I don't know. If I had to guess, these two are gonna fight each other. Like Miles is gonna be like, "Yo, like
Yeah.
you're kind of an asshole,"
Yeah.
and
I
he's gonna
think
Yeah.
be
that's
like, "No,
probably
I'm
coming.
not."
Yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, do you get to choose, or is it something where they force Miles onto you? Like, I'm okay
GTA
with playing
style,
Miles. Yeah,
where you
that's
can
yeah,
switch whenever.
yeah. That would be
That's what
that'd
they made
be
it look like.
yeah, that would be
Yeah.
fun. But that's like I wasn't floored, I guess, with
Right.
it. Like it looks like Spider-Man remastered on PS5, and maybe there's more to it that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
Is my thinking. But overall, I like Spider-Man. It kind of gets you excited to for the new Miles Morales movie Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, so it should be
Yep.
I'm excited for it, but also I was underwhelmed by the trailer they put out, I guess is what I'll say.
Yeah. I'm still gonna buy it.
Oh yeah, of course. I have a question.
Hmm.
Did they allude to it being multiplayer at all in
They
a
said
real?
it's
And
not
okay, they said it's not. I just
single
wanted to
player.
double check.
And it
Yeah.
never was really alluded to. It was just
I just
Right.
about,
wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
fans, oh, two Spider-Mans,
Oh,
multiplayer.
that means that I can play
Yeah.
with my younger brother. Yeah, like that kind of thing. All right.
Yeah. It's not. I guess I'm in the same boat as you, Barry. Like, I'm still gonna buy it day one. Like, I enjoy the Spider-Man games, all of them. It's just I don't know if it was I was expecting something bigger from that trailer as opposed to, it's like I like seeing how he fights with the Venom suit or whatever, the symbiotic suit, and then I that like on rails section where he's on the water, I was just kind of like, okay. I mean, it just looks like a Spider-Man game. I guess I was waiting for something to like blow me away and be like, this is the next gen Spider-Man. I just didn't really feel it yet.
I have a question. Does that mean that Insomniac is doing their job so properly where they can
Probably.
reveal a trailer for what is essentially, or to some people, including myself, feels like a Spider-Man 3? Because, like, Miles,
Yep.
and um, it looked what was like it looked like what was so amazing in the original Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales, but because we have seen it, because we have played it, and a lot of us replayed it, that they show us a trailer with these things and we're like, okay, just give it, yeah, just give it to me. I think
Hmm.
that almost might be a kudos to Insomniac,
Yeah. Agreed.
but
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't know what to expect because like I was just more I wanted a release date. But we didn't
Hmm.
get that, which only makes me
Fall,
more
right?
worried
Did they say
that
just
fall?
fall it it,
yeah, it said
it,
fall,
it
but like
fall. Yeah.
Okay.
at what point does this become a God of War Ragnarok where it's just like we
Right.
continue to go without a release date, without a release date, without a release date, and then it's like, hey guys, we said fall. Turns out it's fall of 2024. That was just a typo. Haha,
Yeah.
kind of deal. So I hope it comes out this year. I don't see why it wouldn't. It seems to be in the right, I guess, process of development for it to be coming out in fall here. If not, it's probably almost done.
So what
For
if you look at Sony then, what's their exclusive lineup for this year? Spider-Man and Final Fantasy? Is that it? Or am I missing something?
no, I think you're right. Or
Yeah, that's it.
what
Final
we haven't seen
Fantasy.
hasn't been announced yet. Is my
I
only
mean,
thinking.
this was their announcement thing though,
Is
right?
it
This was
though?
their conference. I think
It
so.
Is
it
it?
I
it
thought this I
it
thought
was
this
That's
was
what I
their
don't know.
second conference.
That's what I don't know. Like,
it didn't feel like it at the end of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Because like that's what we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier. It's like
Yeah.
it felt like it was like, look at all these cross-platform games that we're
Right.
announcing,
Right.
and then here's Spider-Man.
Maybe that's
Eh,
all they have though.
so the only reason I don't think so is because a lot of the times during the summer stuff that we see, we
Hmm.
usually see Jim Ryan other than what we saw, we did see him for a little bit to talk
Right.
about the streaming portable system that they're working on and the PlayStation earbuds that they're working on with as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the queue can get out of here. Are you kidding me? It's not even standalone. You have to have you still have to have your PlayStation with the games downloaded on your PlayStation
yeah.
5.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
not like a Steam Deck. That thing's they better not be charging a lot for that thing.
I'm interested to see what they
What?
charge.
Oh, I thought you said you're
No,
interested. I'm not interested in it at all.
no, it
I want to
seems
see what
like
they're
a
charging as
it
well.
Yeah.
seems like what this device is clearly for the kids who
Yeah.
have their PS5 connected to their parents' TV, and when the kids want to play something and the parents are watching a movie or watching a sporting event, they can then give this thing to them and be like, "Here, now you don't need the
Right.
TV. Go play your game and leave us alone," kind of deal.
Because like
So
Yeah.
it can't be more than 300.
Oh, it
It
better
has to
not
be
be.
like it has to be for me. It's got to be 200 or less.
I could
I think it.
I could see
Okay.
350, like the price of an OLED Switch. I could see it 350.
But you still
It's
have
got
to
to.
have a
It's
$500 PlayStation.
Yeah, it's got to compete. I think it's got to compete with tablet prices, iPads and
Hmm.
Android tablet prices, because essentially you're telling people not to do that by selling this as well.
Right.
Because you can technically do like your remote play and through that,
Hmm.
which is a similar idea. So it also is for the parent who is watching the sporting event and also wants to use their iPad. So they buy
Yeah.
it for the kid so the kid
Yeah.
can have its like like
Now you're not wrong.
like
I don't know.
it's
I can't imagine if it's more than $200. Like, what is the point? Because then you're looking at another 500 for your system, so you're at least $700. And if it's over $200, then like what? If I have a kid, I'm just getting him a Switch.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not getting him this. There's no way.
Get him a Switch, buy the games that he likes a year
Yeah.
after they actually come out and they have the Switch port is what you're
Yeah.
gonna do.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
and Sony doesn't know how to price apparently anymore because of VR2. So like we're actually looking in 2023, gentlemen. You could spend what is that, $1,300 to get the PlayStation family of updated things. Like if you
Yeah.
wanted to have VR and then you also wanted to have remote play in your home, which sounds hilarious when you say it, but
Yeah.
uh you're spending like $1,400
Mhm.
to play PlayStation 5 games.
Or you could just get a Steam Deck
Yeah.
for 500, and it's a standalone. I don't see where they think the market is for this thing. I don't see it. Blows my mind. And
We'll have to see because like they're
nobody's buying
obvious.
those PlayStation headphones either.
Yeah, they're obviously doing this to maybe get a gauge for what people want out of a portable system, but
Hmm.
this isn't the portable system people are asking for.
Right.
They're not. They want something that's standalone fully from their PS5, and whether it can play cartridges or play discs or whatever it's going to play, they wanted something to at least compete with the Switch, not an accessory to the PS5. I guess
Yeah.
is what the
Yeah.
word is for it. So, overall, like again, I kind of thought this was a meh conference. I thought they showed way too much of Spider-Man 2. I
Hmm.
wanted to see more original stuff than that. But again, we don't know if this was their summer showcase at all. I've like to think it's not, but what do we know?
Hmm.
We're just three dudes that talk about video games on a podcast.
I really felt like it was. Like I felt like it was marketed as this is what we would have been our E3 conference.
I hope
I
it's
don't
not.
know. Maybe not, but maybe there's still a state of play for them coming out in the next month or two, and then they'll really get into it. But that's why I brought that up, because at the end of it, I was like, is it really? Are they really telling me that the only exclusives for PlayStation this year are Spider-Man and Final Fantasy? And those are two good games that are going to sell. But usually you look at it and you're like, okay, I have like 4 or 5 coming this year, or into early next year, and it's not the case this year.
Yeah,
Ma-
I just don't think that Sony is going to leave. Like we know, Final Fantasy VII Part Two
Yep.
will be an exclusive. I don't think Sony's going to leave that to Square Enix to show off.
Yeah.
Is my thinking, especially.
Hmm.
But when it comes to any of the other games like that, I guess we don't know what Insomniac is working on. I guess we don't know what Blue Point is working on. Like there are some studios where they haven't said anything yet, that maybe they're waiting for the Jeff Keighley's Summer of Gaming tour to
Maybe.
start before they start showing it off.
Yeah.
It's my only thinking. because I'm
Yeah,
convinced Blue Point Games is working on Bloodborne Remaster or Bloodborne 2.
Could
Like
be.
I'm convinced that's what they're doing, and they're just waiting for the peak
please.
gaming reveal time. But
That would
Um,
be cool.
yeah,
and all out pettiness too, since Sony tends to be the most petty, depending on the time of year. Um, they may also have decided to show some of the cards, wait for Xbox to do their thing, because Sony would be that petty,
Hmm.
and then have, like you guys are suggesting, another or hypothesizing another state of play where maybe they show some other big guys or some other ones that we weren't expecting. I could see
is it
that
petty
happening
or
as
is it
well.
marketing?
I mean,
That is the
I
question.
I think
True.
if you honestly break down the word marketing, petty is in there
Yeah,
somewhere. It's
yeah.
just
Yeah. I mean, if
so
I'm Microsoft, I'm telling all those companies that I own, like, if you whatever it is you're working on, give me some sort of trailer of something that I can show in the
yeah,
next couple weeks,
Hmm.
even if it's just a CGI trailer, so that we can come out with like 10, 15 exclusives.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what I would do, but who knows?
And
All like
then
Redfall.
Yeah.
yeah. And then just the last bit of news that's not having to do anything with the showcase is going to be the Quest 3 is being worked on, and it is in people's hands. Story from The Verge kind of shows that it is being played. It can be, developer kits have been set out, and it's a much thinner device, which is kind of strange to me considering that I don't think the Quest 2 is that bulky by
No.
any means, and it's not a very heavy unit. So I guess more or less, like, my concern is just the durability of these things. Like, thinner isn't exactly what I wanted to hear when it came to it, but like, hopefully the headband is more reinforced, just because those things snap very easily. Um,
Yep.
but the Quest is such a big part of getting people into VR that, to no surprise, is a Quest 3 being worked on. But how does it upgrade itself from its predecessor is the main thing. What sensors does it add? What do the hand controllers do to keep it in that very friendly, price range for the most part? So that's not sure how you guys feel about it, but it's good to hear that the Quest 3 is being worked on.
I still use mine a lot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I don't really feel the need to upgrade unless it's something that's like game changing.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I mean, I'm a new Quest owner, and I could see myself having it for Quest 2, sorry, owner.
Mhm.
And I could see myself having it for a long time before thinking about 3, unless they drop some type of changer or, you know.
Right.
So,
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I have for news. Craig, I
Okay.
know you said you had a couple other
Yeah,
ones.
just real quick. And I'll talk about this game when we get into games played, but
ooh.
uh I, I'm hoping I'm saying this right, but the company that made the Lord of the Rings Gollum game, was it Daedalic? They are supposedly working on a second Lord of the Rings game now. To which I say, oh, why?
Yeah,
Why are you doing that? But I thought that was interesting that they're like, yeah, we're working on another one. I was like, does anybody want you to?
right.
I guess we'll
Yeah.
find out. But the big one is the Persona news. So Persona 6 is late 2024, PS5 timed exclusive, which means it ain't ever coming out on Xbox, right?
Yes.
Well, it came to Xbox eventually and
It
Switch
it,
eventually.
it did. So the real question, I mean, late 2024, that makes sense. So probably, holiday time next year. Um, I mean, what you guys played a lot more than I did, but like, what
Heck
do they got
yeah.
to do with this? I'm assuming we're going to see something else in one of these conferences this year.
Oh yeah.
Um, what has to be in there for you guys to be excited, or it'll just be enough to put Persona 6 for you guys at this point?
Barry, if you if
So,
you if
I guess the main thing with that one is of course, I love Persona 5 and Persona 4. I get it.
Right.
Um, I would kind of like to see the franchise take a more adult stage to things. Persona has been known for being in in high school sort of situations where you're dealing with these 16 to 15, 17-year-old kids. Maybe take it to college.
That could be cool.
College, maybe adulting more type stuff is what I'd like to see.
I
But
like it.
you
So
say
like a Soul
Persona.
Hackers.
Yeah, maybe a Soul Hackers. Maybe that's what we need. For the most part, though, I want them. What's fun about Persona is what they've kept doing. It's this turn-based stuff. It's the whole and one system kind of defining their weakness. To be honest, they don't have to do much for me to like it or change it,
Right.
but that story has to be there again. Like,
It
wanting to,
does.
I remember being a kid and be like, screw the adults, let's get back at the adults. But Persona series has always been related with high school stuff, so I think it's very far fetched for them to
Right.
want to change something into like a college setting.
Whole new
So
characters.
Yeah.
Then we just
Oh,
move on.
yeah. They have to. Yeah, like just make the characters just as engrossing as they do. They have a good. They have a good way of timing the story as well as the introduction of the characters that will eventually be your party. I mean, for some people, waiting 10 hours to get your second character may be annoying, but like the way Atlas does it does not disappoint. And maybe I'm exaggerating with 10 hours, but um characters day night kind of thing where like you go somewhere else and do the stuff, well not day night, but like you have to go to a different world, and then you have kind of your schedule during the day. And like Barry said, that is centered around schoolings. The college is a great idea. I don't know how you take this particular algorithm and make it adulthood, so maybe college would be a great route. But I don't know, Atlas knows what they're doing, and whether it's Persona, whether it's Catherine, whether it's Soul Hackers 2, you know, they even a subpar Atlas game, they know what they're doing. I have to really think about a subpar Atlas game since I've become an Atlas fan. And even what they do there, it's still a pretty freaking great game. So
I feel like they could come out with a terrible story and terrible characters, and this still gets at least a 9 out of 10.
yeah, I think
I
I don't
really
know.
do because it's
it's
Persona.
yeah, it's hard to
Persona's tried
follow
and
up.
true.
Yeah,
It's
it's
Yeah.
tried and
hard to
true.
follow up to what they did, and I know that that's going to be something that they're worried about. Is how
Mm-hmm.
do you
Yeah.
follow this up? Because to be fair, we've milked Persona 5 for all it's worth. You
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
we had two different spin-off games. We had I guess we had Strikers, and then we had Royal, which was just a DLC. Here's the full game plus
Yeah.
DLC, a couple added benefits there,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're going to have a mobile game that's coming out eventually and it's still like the same Bantam Thieves Persona 5 sort of deal that
Yeah.
they're doing there. So you've milked it for all it's worth. So I guess how do you make it? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it. I still wouldn't be surprised if, Persona 6 ends up being a reworking or reimagining of, a Persona 3, because that's really the thing that's been Persona 3, while there, is the weakest of all of them because of how the gameplay works. So who knows? But I'm excited, and yeah, I'm gonna buy it no matter what it is. I'll buy some. I'm gonna buy the
I'm
collector's
gonna buy
edition
it.
5 times.
Same.
So
I'm gonna buy the soundtrack before I buy the game.
Oh
That's
my
the other
god.
thing. Keep the soundtrack as they've been doing it. Every
yeah,
soundtrack is
yeah,
literally
that vinyl I got, it's good,
oh man.
really good.
That was the only things I had though, was just those two.
Thanks for reporting, Craig.
You're welcome.
So games this week. Games this week is a little hard because I imagine everybody's been playing a lot of Zelda. I've seen it. Everybody's been playing a lot of
I didn't
Zelda.
play it at all this week.
You didn't.
Nope.
So what did you play?
Does that surprise you that I didn't play it this week?
I knew you're playing other stuff. Like I know you're playing
Yeah.
like Apex and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, I know you're
The-
playing it in small bursts.
The main reason I didn't play Zelda this week was because, like I've said before, I played through the first Last of Us with my daughter, and she's been bugging me that we stopped playing part 2. So I went back and played a bunch of that this
Sick.
week. We're still not done, but like I
Yes.
put a lot more time into that. But I did play the Lord of the Rings Gollum game. And then on Game Pass, there was Planet of Lana that came out. And then there was also the Alone in the Dark, that game that's coming out sometime soon. There was a prequel that they put out for free.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah. So I checked that out too, which I mean, I'll just put this out there since that's probably the easiest one to talk about. It's like less than 10 minutes. It's extremely short. It's literally just walking through a couple rooms and that's it. Basically, just to give you the atmosphere, it's in Louisiana. You're playing as like a young kid, kind of walking around. There's not a whole lot going on. There's nothing you're doing besides interacting with objects in the rooms and like finding keys, and seeing some of the monsters that are going to be in there. There's a little cutscene at the end which kind of shows you the main characters, which one of them is David Harbour, which I think is very cool, from Stranger Things. So yeah, I mean, you can download that on PlayStation or Xbox right now. I'm just glad that that game is still coming out. I kind
Mhm.
of forgot about it being announced. So yeah, that was an interesting 9 gig download for 10 minutes of playtime. It was
Yes.
wild, but it looks good. Like I think they're on the right path there. Um, Planet of Lana is very cool. I like that game a lot. It reminds me of like an Inside,
Okay.
where it's like a 2D, with 3D backgrounds. You are a sister who her yeah, a girl whose sister gets abducted by like these alien type things, and you're chasing down the aliens. And then you get a little companion that goes with you, and you kind of solve puzzles with the companions, like this little black, I don't know what it's supposed to be, some sort of alien creature. It's a lot of fun though. I really like that game a lot. It looks pretty. The puzzles are fun, and I love that Inside style of game. I think it's so cool. I
I'm
feel
gonna have
like
to
we don't
try
get
it.
enough of
I'll have
those.
to
It's a
download
lot.
it.
Yeah, Planet
Yeah, I
of
like
Lana
that.
for sure. I guess the big one is Gollum, right? This was
Yes, I have to hear it. Just
Please,
this
just
was
so
please.
well. Here's the thing. This was Craig's game of the year, so I don't know why he didn't buy it.
yeah, and on top of it too, just so people are aware, when we drafted this, this is the
Yeah,
final game
it
that
was. It was.
that we were waiting on to
Right.
finally compile everybody's score for. So we
Okay.
finally have Gollum, and what's funny is Gollum might be the thing that keeps Craig from being anywhere near the
It could.
Yeah.
It could.
because of
The
how
general
bad.
the general consensus, if you look up
Oh man.
reviews on this game, is that it's bad, right? Like I watched a bunch of reviews. So now that I've actually put my hands on it and played a decent amount of it, I can say that this game is absolute trash. It's
Oh my
awful.
god.
Oh my god, is it bad? Crashes, glitches. I don't know how this game came out, because it looks like the Gollum looks nothing like he did in that initial trailer. I don't know if you've seen side by sides,
Hmm.
but like
No,
he's
I
not
haven't.
even close to how he looked in that original trailer. It's like they started with good intentions, and then for somewhere along the way it got messed up, and they got told just to put it out. I saw they already put a press release out saying they're sorry for the state that it released in, and they're going to work on it. But I don't know what there is to work on, because the story is boring. Um, the gameplay is boring. It's literally just running and climbing up ledges. There's very little stealth. The thing that kills me is like in certain sections, if you get spotted, it's like a game over, right? Or you can't really fight anything because you're Gollum. But I saw somebody else had this on YouTube, and the exact same thing happened to me. I was going up a ledge, and there was a spider on top of the ledge, right? And you can't get spotted by the spiders because they'll just jump at you and kill you. So I didn't realize the spider was there. I pull myself up, and the spider's right there. So as soon as I start going, I'm not even the whole way over the ledge. It says game over, and the Gollum guy, like there was no animation. He just went face down, dead. There was no animation. It was just
What?
climbing, dead. And I was like, it feels like one of those like mobile games that are not really mobile games. They're just there to take your money. One of those.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what happened, because I feel like this game started with good intentions, but it had to have been they got forced to put this out and they knew it wasn't ready. because it's ugly. It is absolutely ugly. And that's why I said them saying they're making another one. I can't believe that whoever owns the rights to Lord of the Rings at this point is going to let them, because it's awful.
They need to do Lord of the Rings Legolas and have the same type of gameplay where if a
My
spider sees
God.
you, you
Dead.
die. That's
Just dead. I don't understand. I don't know. It's just this game baffles me. I don't get it. I don't get how it's so bad. It's like I thought we were pretty locked in, at least for my choice of like worst game of the year. But man, this one's gonna be hard to beat.
Yeah, I don't know how I retroactively add it to like do we do so next podcast what I'll do is we'll look it up what the worst game of last year was, and
Yeah.
then we'll add Gollum to it and just see if we still agree that Gollum's the worst, cuz when we
that
did the
sounds great.
draft it was supposed to be out last year, and I guess that it literally has been a year
It has.
since
I mean,
uh
so here's the thing, right? Like, I have my list on my phone as I'm playing of like, all right, what are the worst games of the year, right? So
yeah.
we started the year and I put Forspoken on there. And I was
Yeah.
like, worst game of the year, right? And then I played Wanted Dead and I went, worst game of the year. And then this one might be controversial to you guys, but then I played Wild Hearts and I went, nope, that's the worst game of the year. And then Redfall came out and I was like, it's definitely Redfall easily. And now Gollum comes out, and I'm like, Gollum it might actually be worse than Redfall.
Oh
It's
my.
either Gollum or Redfall right now for
Yeah,
sure.
it's
Wild Hearts,
wild that these games keep coming out.
yeah.
Like the beginning of the year, I think all of us were like, "Forspoken's going to be our worst game of the year," right? It has to be.
And
And
now
then
in
all these
retrospect, doesn't
games
look
keep
that
coming
bad.
out. It doesn't look that bad at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? Maybe I was too hard on that on Forspoken. But
I was too
Oh,
harsh on you.
I
yeah.
think
Yeah. I'm
I
so
think I
sorry.
think a week or two ago we were all fairly confident that it was going to be Redfall.
Yeah.
And now I don't even know anymore. Like, what else is going to come out this year? Where I'm going to be like, Gollum is the worst game, and then something else is going to come out and be like, actually, never mind.
Actually, yeah.
It's wild. There's been some real bad games this year,
Yeah.
real bad. But
We'll
yeah,
see.
Ah man. To be
Time
a
will tell.
gamer, we
yeah.
we live it.
Starfield. It's going to be
Yeah.
Starfield.
Oh, God,
Oh, if it's Starfield, I'll die of laughter. I will die
Mhm.
of laughter if it's Starfield.
That would be hilarious. But you guys have been playing Zelda. That's a good
We
game.
Yeah, we have been playing Zelda. Like overall, I really haven't been playing anything else. To be
Okay.
completely honest, I've
Love it.
well, I think for the most part too, I'm trying to finish it before like Final Fantasy 16 comes out,
Sure.
and I'm making strides, man. Like again, Zelda is like one of these games that I am having a lot of fun with. There definitely is a lot of frustration sometimes on my end with just how I wish it could be a little bit more optimized better and make things easier for me. But I know I'm in the minority that think like this game isn't like this masterful piece of work. You know, I
Yeah.
it's the experience, and I'm not sure if we talked about it last week. I don't believe we did. But my time with Zelda, what I've kind of learned to come to is that for me the game isn't perfect, and like that's just the way things are. But sometimes this game, like its sense of discovery, it makes me
Hmm.
feel like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm having so
Yep.
much fun, kind of deal there. So I think like it's the achievements and the way that Zelda points you toward getting those, like the things you want done, it is fun, or is what makes the game I think better than what a lot of people expected.
Yeah.
I Craig, I'm not sure how far you are. I've completed two of the main dungeons, the wind and the water,
Okay.
and then ever since then all I've really been doing, I'm trying to like there is story to this game somewhere, and I'm trying to
Oh
find
my
it.
God.
That's my
Uh,
issue right now, is I know that there's lore to be found, but I'm now like looking through my missions and I'm trying to figure out where these story bits are.
I'll tell you. So,
Is it the
um,
geoglyphs? Is that what I'm looking for?
yes,
Okay.
1,000 times yes. So where they step their game up is the amount of cutscenes that they've added in this game. So they have all these geoglyphs. It's a mission. It's not really a spoiler. You get it literally at the beginning of the game, right after you get out of the Sky Islands. And you got to find these indentations throughout the world that when you get shot out of any sky view tower, you could see them up high. But in those indentations is a small pool of water that contains memories that tell a story about how Phantom, you know, Ganon, whomever, whatever, Demon Man, Demon King came to be. And unfortunately for me, I did the majority of them out of order. I have like 3 left, and I think there's 12. Um, and they're fantastic. They're like 2 3 minute clips. And
Okay.
Breath of the Wild didn't do that.
Well, they did.
So
They
well,
did. It was Zelda's Memories.
oh, it was, but wasn't it only it was less. That's what I'm sorry.
Yes,
It was a
I think there
smaller
were 7,
amount.
8, or 9. One of the
Yeah,
it's one
sorry.
of those 3
You
options.
are right. It was a smaller amount. They took that and they elevated it to the next level. There is so what I'll this kind of actually transitioned to what I wanted to talk about. What I really like about this game is like what you were kind of well basically saying is you have your dungeons and you're still just exploring and trying to find certain things. You're looking for lore, you're looking for different things, and they just have so much going on in that world that all of a sudden you'll just find something. So like for me, I like how the sky, the ground, and the depths are married in the game. In order to progress in the depths, you need certain items that do appear on the sky and on the ground. And in turn, in order to have a more of a traversal aspect on the sky, in the sky, and on the ground, you really have to mine materials in the depths. So it kind of just like plays this, you should go explore. Now that you have these, go explore this. You have more bright bloom um flowers or whatever, go down there. Now that you have more zonite, go back up and start making stuff with it. So you're kind of it's like an inevitable alley oop that you're doing with the gameplay. And as a result, my favorite part of the game, gentlemen, are the depths.
Okay.
Hands down. I I I'm on like the ground or in the sky, and I don't know if it's like an itch or something, but I'm like, maybe I should go back down there. That's what happens to me. Like every 30 minutes of gameplay, maybe I should go back down there. I'll go down this way because it's dark. I don't know if that's the person in me that enjoys the scary side of games where you don't with the unknown, because it is pretty creepy for a Nintendo game down there. Until you start lighting stuff up. But I found a nice storyline in the depths that takes you to different parts of the depths, and I've been focusing on that. It's fantastic. It's got a great loot reward system out of it. And like I can't that's where I'm at. I have 2 dungeons done as well. I have the water. No, I'm working on the water, but I have the Goron and the Rito one done.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at. I'm also trying to beat it like you before
Okay.
Final Fantasy. See, I knew I wasn't going to beat it before Diablo, but I am trying to
Right.
defeat to beat it before Final Fantasy because I have to. I just have to for my social life.
How many hours are you guys in now?
I have to at least have
Roughly
70 plus.
70.
I probably at least.
Wow,
think
and
you
you've
might have
only done
lagged.
2 dungeons?
Yeah, well, like, and this
That's
this is the thing
wild.
about Zelda
Yeah.
is I this the past really 2 weeks or week and a half really have just been me going to these Skyview towers, hopping out of the Skyview towers, marking where the shrines are so that I can
Mhm.
get more hearts, so that I feel a bit more comfortable going down to the depths.
Okay.
Is the it's just this endless cycle, and
Yeah,
the past 2 3 days have just been shrine, 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 more shrine. um
Okay.
yeah,
and I also finally found like the skydive suit, which thank god for the
yeah,
skydive suit. That thing is makes my life a lot easier.
Hmm.
So it's
yeah.
it's the sense of wonder and discovery, and the fact that
It is.
the depths are still scary. Those hands things still don't want to touch them, and I'm
Yeah, they're
70
crazy.
hours into the game now. I don't want to get close to
I
those
still
things.
haven't seen him yet.
Yeah, they're pretty crazy, and especially how they pop up and where, because you're not expecting them. But like I'm around you, Barry. I got to be like maybe 70, maybe more. I haven't looked. That'd be interesting. But
You
I
can look
saw.
at it. You can look at it now. Like people's numbers are updating,
Okay.
unlike how it
Okay,
was the first
Good, good.
week.
I'll have to look at that after this podcast. I saw my first Lionel yesterday. I've played 70 hours, and I saw for the first time, one of the most powerful normal enemies in the game. That's how
Mhm.
much there is to discover in Tears of the Kingdom. Um, and them adding the caves and the depths and not telling us about it. Well, not telling us specifically about the depths, but not telling us about it is exactly what you should be doing. And going back to one last time, Barry, when you talked about Spider-Man 2 showing too much,
Yeah.
they showed the sky, and you know what? Some people prophesized, or at least gave their opinion, saying that that's too much. They were like, "We understand it's Tears of the Kingdom. We see that." And then when they actually showed, like, "Hey, look what you can do. Here are some of like Link's new powers." People, I remember seeing gamers and YouTubers and such like that saying, like, "Why would you show that? Let me explore it." Well, guess what? They didn't tell you about the entire subterranean system that mimics the ground level. So now you have 3 areas to explore. Do you want your own Switch version of Elden Ring and what Elden Ring did correctly? There it is. Like, I hate bringing it up, but like this is what also Elden Ring did correctly. Is there so much to discover? There's side missions that you don't even have to do if you don't want to, but then there's ones where you're like, "Oh, if I do this, this is like an actual." They have side adventures and then side quests. They've even labeled it to like what is going to take you longer probably because of the amount of like time you put in. So like they're doing a lot of things right. Is it perfect? Is it a perfect game? Still a resounding hell no, like we talked about last week and the week before. However, it's a Zelda game, man. It's great. So
You think you're going to
it's a
be?
Zelda game.
You think this is a game you guys are going to be fighting for as the top game this year or not?
It remains to be seen. It's going to be
Okay.
high.
Yeah,
Probably it will be high
it'll be high
somewhere
for
in
It'll be
there.
me
high.
too.
I
It's
see it in my top 5, maybe at
same,
the lowest top 7, depending on what else comes out
same.
this year. But I have huge hopes for Spider-Man, huge hopes for Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
We're like on top of that too. Like you guys have seen, I've spent hundreds of hours in Pokemon Violet and Scarlet. Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
DLC comes out later this year, and I think people forget that the DLC is supposed to be
Yeah.
coming out soon. So.
Sure.
There's that, and we still have yet to see some of the other games. Stalker 2. I'm still
Yeah.
waiting for that. I'm
I
still excited
know.
for
Yep.
that. But there's a ton of them. But you guys already know that like Final Fantasy, the Theater Rhythm, Curtain Call, probably already in my
Ooh.
top 3. Like that
Okay.
that thing is still up there, and I'm still playing it.
There
That's
you go.
awesome. Stalker 2, I want to play just out of respect for the developers at this
Yeah.
point. I'm excited for the game. I want to play it just to like pay for their hard work and also play their hard work whenever
And
that comes
I
out.
know Diablo is going to be up there for me.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be up there.
Street Fighter 6, anyone?
No.
Mortal Kombat
No.
1?
If I was
Mortal
any good
Kombat
at those
1?
games, I'd say yes.
They're too frustrating. They're so daunting to try to get good at. I
Yeah,
just
Did
and
don't.
you
I don't have the time.
I
you get,
know. Go ahead.
I was gonna say you guys are gonna hate me for this. One thing I had to mention: the most Barry game in that PlayStation showcase was Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure if you guys saw that. Like,
Yep.
Yep.
if that's a Barry game, that it's right there. Um,
It's a
based
Barry
off
game.
of the very profitable gotcha series for Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. The fighting game, they're coming out with a second version of that. It was nice to see that there's going to be like some sort of story, and I'm gonna put it as Tales of Arise option or Tales of option for Grand Blue Fantasy.
Okay.
See, Craig's already into it. But if you notice the combat, like it's a lot like a Tales of game. So
Okay.
I should have
Um,
mentioned that, but
Side note, did you guys see the collector's edition for Mortal Kombat 1?
Yeah.
I did not.
Wow. That's
Also
a heck
350, right?
It's a heck of a statue though they put in that guy though.
I
Like,
feel like the standard now for collector's editions is 350.
yeah.
I see a lot of them for that amount.
I
Yeah.
it's just too bad because like the $100 I paid for just a special edition of Final Fantasy 16 is all I wanted. I just want my Final Fantasy zipped up in a nice one combo, and that I don't
Yeah.
have to spend $300 on an Ifrit statue I don't care about.
Right. You're not wrong.
Also,
Maybe
that's what Etsy's
Bahamut.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bahamut is so
They
intricate.
could have
Yes,
picked so many cooler idols, I guess is what they're calling those fights. They could have picked so many different cooler ones, whether it was Bahamut, uh, call me
Yeah.
what you will here. A Shiva one would have sold like hotcakes. That a
It
Shiva
Oh
would.
one
yeah,
would have
yeah,
sold like crazy.
most
So
definitely.
yeah.
I want them to bring back Doom Train. Doom Train is a throwback from
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VIII. He never appeared again as a summon after that, I don't believe, but it was just like a phantom skeletal train. And it was in Final Fantasy VIII. I remember as a kid, it hit your enemy with a bunch of ailments, like random ailments. It was a great summon. Never saw it again.
Yep.
But I always hope they bring him back. That's something random. Or Barry, one more. A carbuncle. Carbuncle, make it a plushie toy or something, sell it to kids. There you go. They don't do carbuncle every time either.
It's gonna be really funny if this game's not good.
I will be so upset. I will be
Yeah.
so sad. I will be so sad if this game isn't
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the
Agreed.
combat looks fun enough to carry it itself for me. Like that's gonna be the
Yeah.
thing. Like it's
Here, I'll tell you what my worry is with this game is,
yes.
I like it.
Craig. Yes or
Present.
no? Was Final Fantasy 12 a good game?
Yeah.
That's exactly the response I wanted, by the way.
Yeah.
Having to question yourself. This is what
Yeah.
makes me nervous about Final Fantasy 16 is if you ask most people, Final Fantasy 7 good, 8 good, 9 good, 10 pretty good, 11 was online, right? No.
Mhm.
Yes. No.
11 was
Yes.
online.
That. Yeah. Okay. 12. That game came out, and objectively, it's a good Final Fantasy game. But that's the one that out of all of them, you look at the most, and you're like, I didn't really enjoy that as much as the other ones. And ironically, it's the one that had the medieval style uh, of all of them.
Okay.
That's what makes me nervous about 16
Mhm.
is we've had all these Final Fantasy games that we think are great, but when I look at the ones that are in the medieval era, I don't get as excited for them. So I don't know if that's just me or in general, but I feel like most people, when you ask about 12, they do the same thing. They're like, "Was Final Fantasy 12 a good game?" Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't. And deep down, I'm worried that that's how we're going to feel about this one.
Okay.
5 years
No,
from now, I'll be like, "Was Final Fantasy 16 a good game?" Yeah,
yeah, that chocobos.
yeah.
Um,
I don't know.
uh,
That's my worry.
I second what you feel about that type of environment for a
Yeah.
Final Fantasy game, and that's part of why I didn't like 12.
Hmm.
12 was great for the judge battles. It was great
Yeah.
for Fran and Baltier
Yep.
were good characters. Um, and Bosch was too. But any case, it was like, yeah, like the Aladdin kind of style with the kid, whatever the kid's name was, Vaughn. He was like a street rat, and
Yeah.
he meets royalty, like that kind of thing. It wasn't the best storyline comparatively, and I know they do that genre in others,
Mhm.
but it wasn't. You're right. So
I hope I'm
maybe
wrong. It
this one
just
might stick.
makes me nervous.
Makes sense. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can only hope it lives up to my expectations too, just because it's.
Same.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's games we played this week. Now we get into movies and TV shows where I can talk about Love and Death, the now Max original. Um, Other than that, though, we have one more episode of Ted Lasso.
Yep.
We're getting there. I bought Shazam: Fury of the Gods, but have not watched it yet.
Okay. That'll be an interesting one. See how you feel about that.
What'd you guys watch?
I watched one movie this week. If you
Oh, wow.
if you cross off rewatching John Wick, because I already talked about that, was Sisu.
Oh,
Sisu.
okay, Sisu.
Mm-hmm.
From
Which
the
is pretty
commercial.
much John Wick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't mess with people's dogs, especially people who have the ability to kill you.
Just leave people alone.
Yeah, just in general.
Yeah. I watched the season-ending episode of Yellow Jackets.
Okay.
So season 2 is done.
I keep
So I can
forgetting to watch that.
I can give a take on the whole season.
Okay.
So I'll talk about Love and Death first because I think that's kind of the most boring, I guess, out of the three that we're gonna talk
Okay.
about. Love and Death, led by Elizabeth Olsen here, based off of some case that was in the '60s in Texas about adultery. Then she kills I can't. And here's the thing: I originally started watching for Elizabeth Olsen. I like her as Scarlet Witch. I think she's a good actress, and I wanted to see what she would do in this. Um, Overall, like I ended up, I don't see myself as somebody who gets into dramas, but I liked Love and Death. Um, there's enough drama in, even though I knew what the ending of the case was going to be. Um, they they lead you into these kind of storylines that are kind of like, okay, are we gonna veer off from what we think, or are we gonna veer off from what actually happened, sort of thing. They overall stick to the main story, for the most part, I think. And I just thought that like the characters that were playing the actors were like were really well done. The judge that ends up defending, or sorry, the lawyer that ends up defending Elizabeth Olsen, like did an incredible job, I thought, with like explaining the whole law portion of things and how it like needed to work in order for them to win that case. Because like if you guys don't know, like she in real life, like she was convicted of the death of this person, but they found her not guilty due to and I don't know, should I spoil it? Should I spoil the ending of this? Because it's a
I mean, it's based on
It's
something that
true.
happened a
Yeah,
long time ago.
yeah.
we
So
won't yell at you.
yeah, just overall, like there's a doctor that comes in and eventually kind of tells like, hey, she had a traumatic event in her head. She has like this dissociation sort of thing, so something wrong with her mentally. That the jury ends up going, okay, she's not guilty of it, and it was kind of this groundbreaking, ruling because she admitted to killing her, but it was just a matter of the fact that I guess, she was a bit psychotic and had a psychotic breakdown during the whole thing. I just again, I was into the drama of the whole thing. And that's what I guess the biggest compliment I can give to it is that
Okay.
the story itself gives you enough to want to continue watching it, which was surprising to me considering that I'm not sure if I'm the right person for this for this TV show, but I enjoyed it nonetheless, and it got me interested in looking to like what actually happened in that case. So I ended
Got
up,
it.
reading a couple articles because like now people are rewriting or like going back into that article and comparing what actually happened with it in real life because for '60s, I was not, I wasn't even a thought. My dad was born in
Yeah.
'64, so it's that kind of thing where it's like, okay, nobody I talk to really knows what this trial is. So
Sure.
I guess to learn and figure it out myself was kind of cool too.
Sounds
Nice.
cool.
I like that
I
kind
was
of
I
stuff.
was worried it was going to be too boring,
Mm.
but I'll watch it for sure.
Um,
It's definitely character driven
Yeah,
performance.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. I think I should. I'll get this out before Craig
Okay.
you go with your movie. Yellow Jackets 2, season 2. Watch it.
Better than the
Just
first season?
yeah. So
Okay.
um, pardon my dramatic just watch it and like just silence thing, but this is like one of the best shows on television right now. This year. You have to be careful how you phrase that specifically. So uh, in this particular season, they definitely added a good casting. You had Elijah Wood jump in, Lauren Ambrose, who for me is recently from Servant, which I just watched the final season of that, and she's fantastic. And then also Simone Kessel, and they come in and they play different characters who you are unsure on whether they were alive or not in the previous season, and that's what I kind of like. So I'm trying to say this specifically so I don't ruin it. So what the original season did well is establish the story. You got a group of kids. They play on a soccer team. They end up in a remote, kind of lost area, literally and figuratively. And they start to understand the lay of the land. They're trying to survive. And you start to see how a group of girls who are just growing up, they just were in high school like a day ago, have to deal with the wilderness, right? Oh, and their coach. What season 2 did was not only expand on a bunch of the stories from season 1, but then they added characters who you were unsure of on whether they survived or not in the long run, because they're simultaneously telling the story of the adult lives of the people who survived from that island and the actual story of them being on, in that wilderness. So what they kind of did is answered a couple of questions on who survived by adding people, but those people played the heck out of their adult characters. Like really, really showed up. Elijah Wood is charming, um, and very, very funny actually. Christina Ricci is still one of the best actors on that show. But it's just a fantastic, well done. Who's gonna die kind of thing, and I think they're really filming it well. It's creepy. It's got one of the best openers that I've seen. And it had an episode this season that reminded me of how the Bill episode touched my heart from Last of Us as well. It was just
Mm.
well shot. Everybody played their part specifically well. It looked like they tapped into every ounce of acting ability they had, and they collectively created what I would consider one of the masterpieces when we think of one episode of this year. Now, I haven't seen nearly close to every single television show that has come out this year. However, this is one that I think everybody should put on their radar. It can appeal to a bunch of different people. It's except squeamish people, because you put humans in a place where there's eventually no food. You can understand with if this isn't a Nickelodeon show, what's going to happen. So just keep that in mind. But Yellow Jackets, great show, and I can't wait for season 3.
Yeah, I need to finish it because I watched like the first 2 episodes when they came out, and then totally forgot that show was still on the air. There's too many shows. Like
Yeah.
Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is one I always remember. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch that every week. But yeah, that's I love the first season of Yellow Jackets. That incredible. Sisu.
Sisu.
Easiest way to describe it would be John Wick in World War II. Yeah, World War II. Um, it literally is just an old man who used to be in the army. He left the army because he got tired of killing people. Built That's
As one
literally like,
does.
yeah,
As
like
one
it's
does.
literally like, I forget the nickname the Germans have for him, but it's like, or the Russians had for him. But it was something along the lines of like he had killed like over 200 Russian soldiers, but he had left the military and he's out there mining for gold. That's it. He's just out there with his dog mining for gold. This tank regiment of the Germans happens upon him, and they see that he has gold and try to take it from him. And it's literally just him picking them off one by one. The movie is like, John Wick is pretty gory, right? Like this is like double that. It's just so over the top, but it's entertaining just to see like this old guy just completely dismantle this group of like 20 like Nazis, just absolutely demolish them. I appreciated that when they advertised this movie, they put in there that the dog doesn't die.
Yes,
I love that marketing, being like, this isn't John Wick. The dog doesn't die. We promise it survives.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's on the level of a John Wick, but as like a one-off, I enjoyed my time with it. I feel like this is a genre we're going to see a lot more of
Hmm.
going forward, where it's just like, yeah, this one guy killing a whole bunch of people. But yeah, I think it's worth a good like afternoon watch, and then you probably don't need to own it or watch it again. But I enjoyed my
Is it on
time with it.
streaming?
What's up?
Is
Yeah,
it on streaming yet?
it's
Okay.
streaming right now. It's, I mean, they know what they're doing. It's like an hour and a half. It's just like, here's the setup. All right, here comes the Germans. All right, now kill them all in different ways. And he gets very creative, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, I'll say it's a definite watch. Right now you have to pay to stream it, but I feel like this is going to end up on like a Max or something fairly soon, I would think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of like how that other John Wick type movie came. Like, right there was that the one with the deadbeat dad that ends up, his family gets threatened.
Oh yeah. I forget what that's called, but yes.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah, same
that one.
thing. This is going to end up on a Paramount or Max relatively soon, and if it does, then 100% watch it. You won't, dislike it. I don't think
Yeah,
if you enjoy John Wick. So yeah, it was a good one.
yeah,
Uh,
perfect.
Speaking of John Wick, I don't know if it's
Mhm.
still going on, but anybody who has Game Pass Ultimate, they're selling all 4 John Wicks for like $30.
That's not bad,
If you don't need to own the physical copy of John Wick
including the
4
new
or
one,
any of
huh?
the. Yeah.
Cool.
Too bad I need the new one. Gosh
You
darn it!
you
I
I
know.
want
gotta
I
get
the
the
you
know.
want the
physical. Yeah,
physical?
yeah,
Yeah, I'm still gonna buy that movie physically when it comes out, but it was
Yeah.
nice to watch it again this week.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
it comes out
excited.
on the
Excited
12th,
to
I
finally get my
believe.
hands on it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, guys, we want to thank everybody for watching. If you are interested, please make sure to review this podcast on your podcast listening platform of choice. Make sure you follow it on your podcast listening platform of choice so you get updated on new episodes as we continue to put them out. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe. Comment on how you think either Breath or Tears of the Kingdom is always going to be a top 10 game, or whether or not you agree with our Spider-Man 2 or PlayStation Showcase vibes, I guess, for the most part. I'd be interested to see what people thought of it, if they thought of it, if it was great, because we pretty seem to be on this podcast that it was at the most okay, meh,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. So thank you guys for watching. We appreciate all the support you give us, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Thanks, guys.